Hi, welcome to The Buttered Bread, a channel that focuses on life questions and answers from biblical scriptures. The question we will focus on today is, why did God create evil? To answer this question, we will need to look into this figure in Scripture that is described as the father of all lies. Jesus called Satan the prince of this world, the adversary of both humans and God, and the deceiver of the whole world. Let's start with God's creation. When God created everything, He said it was very good. We can read that in Genesis chapter 1. Genesis 1 verse 31 says, "And God saw everything that He had made, and behold, it was very good." This verse leaves no room for misinterpretation. According to Scripture, God did not create evil. So, we need to analyze God's adversary to find the root of evil. I need you to stick with me throughout these next verses. They might be a bit long, but we need to go through them so that I can reveal something to you. In Ezekiel 28, verse 12, we can find out more about Lucifer. "You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adorned you: carnelian, chrysolite, and emerald, topaz, onyx, and jasper, lapis lazuli, turquoise, and beryl. Your settings and mountings were made of gold. On the day you were created, they were prepared. You were anointed as a guardian cherub, for so I adorned you. You were on the holy mount of God. You walked among the fiery stones. You were blameless in your ways, from the day you were created, till wickedness was found in you." Let's analyze the sentence, "Your settings and mountings were made of gold." There is more to this than meets the eye at first. The word mountings comes from the Hebrew word nekev, which is a technical term relating to a jeweler's work. It's clearly describing a piece of jewelry that contained a variety of precious stones. If we look at these stones, we find that the exact same stones are also mentioned elsewhere in the Bible. In Exodus 28, to be exact. I'm going to read only parts in this chapter that are describing this breastpiece. "These are the garments they are to make, so they may serve me as priests. Fashion a breastpiece for making decisions, the work of skilled hands. Make it like a ephod, of gold and of blue, purple and scarlet yarn, and of finely twisted linen. It is to be square, a span long and a span wide, and folded double. Then mount 4 rows of precious stones on it. The first row shall be carnelian, chrysolite, and beryl. The second row shall be turquoise, lapis lazuli, and emerald. The third row shall be jacinth, agate, and amethyst. The fourth row shall be topaz, onyx, and jasper. Mount them in gold filigree settings." We just found out that Lucifer was adorned with the exact same breastpiece, made of gold with a variety of specific precious stones. This means that he was closer to God and had a higher position than most of the other angels. Let's read further in Ezekiel 28. "Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom. Because of your splendor, so I threw you to the earth." It's clear that Lucifer thought highly of himself because of his beauty, wisdom, and power. But wasn't that partially God's fault, though, if He made him so wonderful and beautiful to begin with? In Isaiah chapter 14, verse 14, we can read Lucifer's declaration of war. "I will climb up to the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High." Lucifer declared himself God's adversary by wanting to replace God. This was no friendly frolic. Lucifer was obviously locking horns with the Creator of all things. According to Scripture, God has already won the war and cast Satan out of the heavens. Let's see if we are getting to some answers here. If God didn't create evil, then how did it come into existence? Albert Einstein said something very interesting about this mystery. He said, "Just as darkness is the absence of light, Evil is the absence of God. What he basically meant to say is that evil, like darkness, wasn't created. You should think of a shadow to realize that darkness is simply the lack of light. God never created evil. His creation became evil when turning its back to the source of love and life, and in the absence of love, it became death and fear. Okay, now we got that nagging question out of the way. Here is another one. Why doesn't God just exterminate evil if he indeed already won this war and get it over with? This is a very interesting question, and the answer might be a bit surprising. The answer is that the deceiver of the world serves a purpose unto God. In Matthew 4, verse 1, we read, "Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil." So, why was Jesus led into the wilderness? To be tempted by the devil. There was no other purpose for Jesus to go into the desert than to be tempted and tested. If even Jesus had to go through these trials to be tested, then it's safe to say that we're not wriggling out of this. I'd like to introduce you to the parable of the wedding banquet to get more understanding of the meaning of these trials. What are these trials for? Because I don't know about you, but I could do without. Matthew chapter 22. Jesus spoke to them again in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his servants to those who had been invited to the banquet to tell them to come, but they refused to come. Then he sent some more servants and said, 'Tell those who have been invited that I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and fattened cattle have been butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet.' But they paid no attention and went off. One to his field, another to his business. The rest seized his servants, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent his army and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, 'The wedding banquet is ready, but those I invited did not deserve to come. So go to the street corners and invite to the banquet anyone you find.' So the servants went out into the streets and gathered all the people they could find, the bad as well as the good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guests, he noticed a man there who was not wearing wedding clothes. He asked, 'How did you get in here without wedding clothes, friend?' The man was speechless. Then the king told the attendants, 'Tie him hand and foot and throw him outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are invited, but few are chosen.'" The wedding symbolizes our reconciliation with God after the fall of man. God, who invites us for a relationship with Him, is ready to receive us. But as we've just read in this parable, most humans are not super excited about this reconciliation. It just isn't so important to most of us. God invites many of us, but only a few are responsive to His invitation. This is what this parable means. God is using the adversary to test us because He wants to know what is in our hearts. He doesn't want us to be with Him out of fear or because of calculativeness. He is looking for those who want to be with Him, out of love for Him, for who He is. That is why this reconciliation with Him is symbolized with something as intimate as a wedding. It must be seen as a two-sided love affair. I know it's a pretty intense description, but that's how Jesus described it. Find out more details about why Jesus needed to die for our sins in the video, Who Was Jesus?